Welcome. It's my favorite time of the month. Happy Friday, and it's our With Heart book circle. And oh my goodness, I'm so excited for this one today because we have a special guest, Hilda Gan, who I'll introduce in a moment. And for those who don't know me and who might be watching this later, I'm Helen Patterson. I'm the founder of Life Works Well, an HR boutique consultancy, and we help organizations that are scaling create heart-centered, high-performance, and healthy cultures. A big part of that is including mentorship and everyday mentor moments. And Create a Mentor Culture. My book's there. It went out earlier this year. And I have to say, I'm very excited about this book today, Rev Up Your Leadership and Be the Boss You Wish You Had, because we've all been there before. But Hilda and I have to tell you a little story about Hilda and I. We met back in the fall of 2018, I believe, at an off-site, a retreat, a women's business retreat that was up in Hockley Valley in Ontario. And Hilda was one of the panelists and had been sharing her People-Centric consulting organization. And I thought, this is someone I really need to connect with. And then we were on a panel together with the HR Professional Association. I think I reached out to Hilda. And so we were on a panel together, and that started a beautiful friendship as well of supporting each other with our growing businesses. Later, we worked with the same coach for a while. We were down in Mexico in January 2020. So we've been around each other for a long time. And so our book dreams, we kind of shared together too. But so to give you a little bit more background, Hilda first had a career in the healthcare industry, managing ICU units, all kinds of amazing things, also in technology. And then her and her husband co-built a company called iTrans, which was an award-winning organization, which if you've read the book, you will learn all about. And if you haven't, you will learn it when you read it and go pick it up. So, and so that kind of started her interest in culture and people-centric organizations. And they went on to win Great Places, Best Places to Work award. And she took some of that love after their business was acquired and started People-Centric Consulting. And you just know when you meet Hilda how heart-centered she is and how caring she is. Her story about her, just her journey into this is really wonderful to read. And so I remember sitting with Hilda and her talking about the REVUP framework that she created, and we were so aligned with it, with respect and equality and valued and uniqueness and potential. Pretty good, right, Hilda?
Doing great.
But just the way we talked about it and the alignment and her bringing that into the world, and then her fascination advantage that she uses with teams that I went through one of the programs. So she's really brought everything together and then added this latest leadership dimension. So, and another index, which she'll talk about, but there's so much in this book that I also learned more a little bit about Hilda, even though I've known her for years. So first of all, congratulations, Hilda.
Thank you.
And I can't wait to actually celebrate in person with, turn my phone off. So thank you for being here. Welcome. Later on, anyone can ask a question, but I usually kick us off with, there's anything else you'd like to add in addition to your introduction, but your journey, more about what brought you to finally to write the book, and a little bit about that experience, because we do have authors that come on or people that would like to be. So, what brought you to this final culmination of bringing this all together?
And maybe I can share the story about how REVUP came into being. and then how the journey of writing it happened. So first of all, thank you, Helen, for inviting me to the circle. I'm so excited to share my book, and I'm so excited that our journeys of deciding to write a book ended up pretty much launching within weeks of each other. So I think, as people can share here, we share a long history back to 2018, and I'm surprised you actually have the dates of when we were in Mexico together, etc. And so the word REVUP came to me as a way of articulating the company my husband and I built, and not only were we best workplaces in Canada, but we were top 10 twice. So that's just not, we were on the list of 50. We made top 10 twice. And we wanted to create a place where people love what they do, love where they work. And so this creating a work culture, reading the books and saying, hey, I can do this, and making it happen was sort of amazing journey, and to be validated by that. So when we sold the business and I worked there for 4 more years, I thought, what do I want to do? And so I started my company, and I wanted to be able to articulate how other companies could create a culture that's healthy and people-centric. And I wanted to articulate it in a very short, succinct way. And I'm driving, and I suddenly realized the words rev up. And I said, wow, that sounds rev up. It's very energetic. It's, zoom, 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 go. And then I knew instantly what the first 3 words were. Treat people like with respect, the equality. Everybody was treated equally in our organization and valued. Those are things that we all believe in, whether we have a company or not. These are motherhood statements, if you want to call it that. But what was the up part? And so I had to try to think, what did we do? And how does that fit into the word up? And you can see in the words, it's rev and the up is elevated. And then it suddenly dawned on me, everybody we spent time with, we learned about them, and we looked at their uniqueness. And so by doing that, then the word potential naturally flowed. We look at their uniqueness and we tap into that potential. So very early when I started my company, like 9.5 years ago, that word rev up was there. But I hid it in a little box and not shared it with anybody because I felt it was going to be something bigger than me, and it had to be shared with the world. But if I shared it too soon, people would take it. So I held it quietly for 2 years, and then I started to grow, let it come out and own its day. So I wanted to write a book about 5 years ago on this rev up, and I just, at that point, it wasn't quite there yet. I had anecdotes, I had some confidence, but I didn't know if other people would say, hey, that's a great idea. So I wasn't ready to write the book. But then I was kind of ready to write the book 2 years later, but I just didn't find the time. And I would say, okay, I'm going away on my vacation. I'll write 1 or 2 chapters, and then that's the start of it. I did have an outline, though, and that outline more or less held true for 8 years. It held true for more or less 8 years. And so by the time I said, I'm ready, I have the confidence in myself and the anecdotes that are honed over time, and I believe people, when they hear about REVUP, when they do a leadership training about REVUP, they get it. So now I felt confidence on both sides. Somebody would read this and it would apply, and other people would, and I felt confident. And so I started to search for a publishing company who, and I'll share this with people. For me, I am about community. I love to be in groups where I exchange ideas and support each other. Lee is here and she has a great community. Helen, I belong to a community. So to me, community is important. And I wanted to write a book that didn't just, show up and then sit on a shelf in my own personal home. That's it. I wanted the world to hear about this because I feel that people can make a difference when they treat people with a REVUP approach and then connect and create a work culture where people love what they do, love where they work. So I found the company that not only helped me to get the book to a published state, but then to let it live and breathe and grow. And they had a sense of community. This publishing company, we have opportunities to meet 3 times a week for an hour on various aspects. One is just get together and share things. And I learned so much about various aspects of my journey of publishing. And I ended up being in Indigo during Asian Heritage Month. Just a month after I published, I was in my local Indigo signing books during Asian Heritage Month. Like, what a dream come true kind of thing. So this community helped me do this, right? We have writing time, we have question and answer time, and we have this community time. So this was a great thing for me to do. And I was ready to write the book. I signed on the dotted line in September. And I told them, I said, I'm ready to write this book. It's going to pour out of me. And pour it did. By December 15th, I submitted my manuscript to my authors for them to start the process of making sure it was ready to be published. And we published in April. So that's the story of it.
Wow. And just for people watching and others, it's not always that way, but it's interesting because I've sort of did bits and pieces, but the ideas, as you say, were there for a long time. And so sometimes the writing, you just need someone to guide you. And it is interesting how it evolved probably from the time you thought it was only going to be about REVUP versus adding on the leadership dimensions, which are beautiful.
Thank you.
And we'll talk about those and the index as well, because people do like practical, right? They do want things that are, you can pick up the book and get enough guidance and idea and then say, oh, I want to dig deeper a little bit. And I think that's the thing is that having gone through the book writing process, because sometimes I'm almost like, when I say it took that many years, like it really didn't. Like if I added up the actual hours on how much time, maybe it was very similar to you, Hilda. Like if I thought about the actual hours writing and, but it's all a learning journey, right? It really is. You don't, I think this month we were talking about creativity at Life Works Well and just this ideas, and I have an ideas book. And if you've read Big Magic, that sometimes you can have an idea. So your story about having REVUP and you were holding it close because you didn't want it to go to like it could float away and be someone else writing about REVUP. So that's kind of fascinating. I'm rereading that book now. But, I love the REVUP, and I think that, it's one of those things that making sure we can apply things to behaviors, experience, connection, interaction, because we can all organizations can put up those values or these beliefs that they have, and then are they really lived in the culture? And you did write a little bit about that, Hilda, when I read that, and I'd love you to share a little bit about that, because it does, many companies, you and I both help organizations if they don't have mission, vision, values, or purpose, passion, principles, whatever you want to call it. Mm-hmm. How do you encourage the clients you work for? And in the book, you do touch on it. What do you start with first, right? Because REVUP was sort of your belief system and values that came out of iTrans that can be applied. Mm-hmm. But how do you kind of link it back to maybe the values will be a bit, different and bring then REVUP on top of that? Do you have any ideas on that?
So I think when sorry, that's not the right word. When working with clients, it is really knowing that a client has the intention to make a difference. It isn't something that, we just want a strategic plan. We want to be people-centric. Can you help us do that? it has to be a place that wants to change the culture or enhance the culture that focuses on people and who understand that the bottom line of building a business isn't just profit. Because statistics will show you those companies that focus on profit and people earn 10 times more in terms of their earnings, in terms of their profits. They have people that are engaged. These are tangible, real reasons to do it. And I'm only going to work with clients who see the possibility that we want to make this happen. We don't want to just have an exercise and sit on the shelf. So I think those earlier years of saying, why would I write this book, Rev Up? Because every culture has their own set of mission, vision, and values and may have different words to describe it. But as I went further and further, I realized that it can be an individual philosophy. You can treat people with respect and look at them as equals, And can I put that in a sentence? This is how I describe Rev Up. Rev Up is where so there are 5 words. Treat people with respect, not the way you want to be respected. It's the way they want to be respected, because it's different. Then equality. Look at people as equals. And at iTrans, we looked at people as their role was equally important to every role in the organization. Without them being that person doing that role, our company would not be able to provide full service or top quality. Everybody has to do things to the best of their ability. So making people realize that our roles are equally important. Without a VP, without an admin person, without a librarian, we would not be able to do all the things that we do for our clients. Then value. This is the easy part. This is making people feel important, because statistically, 68% of people will stay if they feel valued. What does it take to say, you've done a great job and I loved how you worked with the client on ABC? It takes no time to say that, and yet it will linger, that memory, that feeling. Then look at the uniqueness of everybody, all the things that they do well. And when you tap into that potential, you create somebody who's shining in their role, being more involved and engaged. So this is what people need to do. So they can internalize that philosophy. They don't need to embrace it for the whole organization. So key essentially is I want clients who really want to make a difference. And what I realized, it's not just at the top. It has to be everywhere. Like my husband and I focused on, wouldn't it be nice if everybody loved what they do, loved where they work? And so we worked on that as part of our DNA in terms of managing our company and connecting with our staff. But what I realized years later when I come back for reunions, because our staff organizes reunions from time to time, I looked around the room that time and there were like 30 people who made it a point to come back for a reunion and get caught up and talk. And I looked around that room and I said to myself, oh my God, what did we do? We hired people who shared our values, who emulated that, and kind of did that throughout the whole organization. Then I realized it wasn't just me and my husband and a few other people championing it. It was people were ambassadors of this feeling of wanting to connect with each other, to make it a sense of community. When we first started out and we were 10 people going to 25, by the time we got to 25, people were saying, you're not my family, I have a family. I thought, okay, fine, we'll use the word team now. And then somewhere, 35, 45, it's like family. I thought, that word came back. Okay, fine, we'll embrace that. So, you need to go with the flow, but it is really about organizations who truly want to make a difference. And it has to be the whole company. It's not from the top down. It's not from the bottom up or just one, the cheerleading department. Some people say, HR are the people that fire people and then they do parties. Well, I'm sorry. HR does more than that, but it's not just one department. It has to be the whole organization.
Yeah, I love that. I mean, I'm sure we all agree, those who are here today and watching this, that feel that way. And it's sometimes it's a little trickier. Hey, I would have loved to have had a job back at your place.
Well,
Sounded like an incredible organization, which, they are few and far between. Like
no,
reality is there's conflict, there's dysfunction, there's,
yeah,
there's hierarchy, there's just,
yeah,
systems that have replicated oppression in the world, so it's really, this is the work that, everyone here I know, and the work that Dolores, it's nice to have you here too. It's like, the more that we can help, really just be facilitators for that type of environment, and be that light and be that energy that can then ripple and create something different. But I know, the leadership dimensions. I did want to have a chat to ask you a little bit about a time to ask you a little bit about that, and then we can open it up as well.
sure.
Because here's the thing, me, I'm always like questioning, and the curiosity, because I have been at organizations where even, I think we typically think about leadership as those roles of hierarchy, as titles, as like that. And I think there is still room for individual contributors to be leaders as well.
Hmm.
But in the formal concept of dimensions of leadership, I did like, some people call them emerging, that if people do want to gain those skills, so to speak, of leadership and being able to lead projects or teams or whatever, there are certain skill sets. I thought maybe you would maybe walk us through that if you like, because I'm looking at it, it's not really a hierarchy. From what you talked about in the book, it isn't a hierarchy. It's just different. And I like the word dimensions that you use. So different dimensions of leadership. So talk about those, from
Okay.
potential up to motivational, inspirational, which ideally, where we are of service is the ones that, in those areas. And then maybe at the end, just kind of touch on the individual that could be a leader.
Okay. So maybe to kind of help people kind of understand the book a little bit better, especially if they're listening to YouTube saying, do I need this book? The Rev Up was really to help people see how they can be better bosses, right? Be the boss you wish you had. And really how you can create that relationship with somebody, to have that healthy relationship to grow. And so those 5 words, each chapter talks about how you create respect, how you create equality, and gives you examples from iTrans, from my nursing days, and from various areas that I've used. And then it's almost like a workbook too. It makes you pause and reflect. So how can I be more? How do I look at the uniqueness of myself and others? And then asks you questions. So it's almost like a self-help book to be a better leader. And as I'm writing about RevUp, I'm thinking, I want to help people. This isn't for just a certain level. It's for all walks. Even if you're in university and you're thinking, I want to be a leader one day, but I've already been a leader. Maybe I was the head of student council, or maybe I was the editor of the yearbook. These were leadership skills that you can draw upon. So the first part, Rev Up, really focuses on identifying that. And then as I'm finishing the book, I'm thinking, I need to talk about the levels. And there's been different levels before. And I'm thinking, wait a minute. I want people to look at the fact that you start off as a leader, and the ultimate goal for leadership is inspirational leadership. And this is where your book and my book kind of complement each other. We're in a capacity as leaders, we should be mentoring and guiding. And of course, when you're just thinking, I want to be a leader, you're not in a role to mentor necessarily. But if you want to strive to be an inspirational leaders are the boss you wish you had. Somebody who impacted your life, changed your life, and because of them, you found your calling, you found your strengths, you were encouraged to be those strengths. Like that's what I wanted to do. So when I did this, I created the 5 categories. So the first one is potential leader, and then it evolves to the inspirational. And I thought, I had somebody who crafted it for me, right? And she crafted it like a journey that almost looked like it belonged in more of a personal development. So it looked like a yoga, a journey to Zen kind of thing. No, that's not what this is about. And then she showed me one, and then I said, it's building one upon the other. That potential leader then builds on the next level, and all of your experiences prior to that create all of who you are, right? So then I said, okay, you put it in circles, but make it more embryonic. Start with a little egg and then grow the egg so that it becomes one. And so when you see it, it starts off as potential leader. And a potential leader is somebody who says, I want to be a leader someday. This is who I want to be. And again, similar to the early parts, I get you to reflect upon it and then give you exercises to think about how can I be a better leader at this stage. And saying it's not a stage. It's the growth. And you may be a little bit of this and then you go back. So there are 5 stages. Number 1, potential leader. The second is developing. Okay, now I have this knowledge about what kind of leader I want to be and how I'm going to start doing it. I'm testing the waters and I'm learning. So that's the developing stage. And the next one is evolving. So this is now where I've built relationships now. I see the value of creating a team and I'm going to build my team. By the time you get to the 4th dimension, it's the motivational leader. And it's not fluid. You could be a motivational leader while you're still becoming a potential leader because you've got other people that you're doing. This is where you see the value of helping people find their strengths, helping people be a better team member, or starting to experience some other leadership qualities, giving them opportunities to be leaders in a more well-defined, confined space so that they're learning how to lead without just jumping. And in the book, I talk about the fact that when you get your leadership role, the average age, according to this, was about 35, 36. But the average age where they actually start to get training is 4 years later. That's a lot of experimentation, figuring it out on your own. And that shouldn't happen. So having people that guide you, support you, and getting education is really helpful. And then the 5th is the inspirational, where you really are inspiring and helping other leaders be better leaders and helping people who are growing to be potentially finding their maximum. And this is the compliment you and I have, your mentoring. And that's part of it. So if you buy the soft cover, it's in black and white. But if you buy the hardcover, it's in my shades of blue. And I like the hardcover version much better because of that. It's really interesting. When I was doing my book signing in Indigo, I said, well, I have the hardcover and I have the soft cover. And 3 of the people that bought books says, it isn't a book if you don't buy the hardcover. There's something, so they were willing to pay that hardcover price. And I thought, that's true. There's something about holding a hardcover book that makes a difference. So that's the dimensions itself.
Beautiful. Yeah, I see that Anne had a question, and I do want to just say one thing. When I was in my corporate world, my roles, I constantly said, I just want to be inspired by a leader. I'm like, where are the inspirational leaders? And there were a few, but again, I mean, imagine that if we could have the inspiration. And I mean, there's just, I guess it is an evolution. So it hopefully will help many become the inspirational leaders. So thank you. And you want to hop out and ask your question?
I will if my computer would react to my getting off of mute, but thank you very much. Hilda, this has been wonderful. I really love the premise of your book and what it's all about. So thank you for sharing. Quick question though. We talk about, we all want to be inspirational leaders, but I have to think back about what attributes would make an inspirational leader stand out from everybody else. Because, I think about, I worked with someone, a leader who I thought was highly inspirational, because he got out of his chair daily, walked the floor, spoke to the employees, knew their spouses and children's names, asked the difficult questions. What are you working on? What do you need help with? What's challenging you today?
Yeah.
Took them out for coffee, those sorts of things. And I think he was inspirational because people trusted him enough to share information. I'd love to hear from you, Hilda. What other attributes do you think leaders need today to show their inspiration to their employees?
This is a really fundamental, great question. And I think not everybody is going to be an inspirational leader.
Right.
Because I think an inspirational leader is somebody that is giving. They want to make a difference, right? That is a fundamental thing. The other thing is a sense of curiosity, that they are open to learning from other people. They're open to self-improvement of themselves, and that they want to make a difference in the lives of people they impact. I talk about 2 ladders. I don't do it in the book, but when I do training, that as a leader, we have a stewardship. We have the ability and a responsibility to be stewards of those that we guide and support. And we can help them to learn skills, and we can help them to learn the non-technical skills. And by doing that, we're building confidence. And think of confidence in one side and skills, whether they're technical or non-technical, on another side. As a leader, if you help build a person's skill, they get confident in who they are. So then they can build more skills and more confidence. They can get to hear through your guidance. All you need to do is tell them one day, what were you thinking when you did that? Now you've cost the company money. What is your problem? What have I just done to their confidence, to their skills? And if I keep badgering them with this eroding of their skills, their confidence, suddenly, see, I knew they were incompetent. I knew it all along. Guess who helped do that? You have the ability to build skills and confidence in a targeted way as a leader. And you also have the ability to erode that. So leaders have always been pivotal in my mind, and we can make a difference. So I would say building trust, a sense of curiosity, and a sense of stewardship, a desire to help people be the best version of themselves. And that's why the REVUP concept, the REVUP framework, is so simple, and we can live it and we can make a difference. I have, I guess, practiced my muscle memory to teach and look at the uniqueness of people. So I can meet somebody at a networking event and I can see what makes them the confident person they are, and I will share something with them. And I think they've left feeling that much better about who they are. I don't seek to say, hey, I met you 5 years ago. Did I make a difference in your life? No, I just go and I want to help people feel more confident in who they are. And I think we can all do that. And as leaders, we have, I believe, an obligation to make a difference in people's world. And we have the power to do that for our individuals, for our teams, and our culture. And be the boss you wish you had. How many people have crappy cultures because they have crappy bosses who, I don't know if I can ask them that question today because I have to wait till they come in and see what kind of mood they're in. Really? Really? That shouldn't be the case. Did I answer that question well?
You did very well, Hilda. Thank you. And I think too, if you don't mind, I'd like to add one more attribute, and that attribute is courage to be the leader you want to be today.
Right.
And there's too many leaders that don't know the courage they need to be who they need to be in their role to gain the trust of their employees and the confidence that they need.
And I agree, courage is one component. And I think the leader you want to be is actually the key.
Right.
They need to know who they want to be. And in the book I talk about uniqueness is when I coined the phrase rev up, the uniqueness is easy. We're all unique. The fact that we have a thumbprint, or then we were born at this time of day, this time of year, and whatever, that's unique. But that's motherhood uniqueness. I had to make sure that as a person who provides leadership training and guidance and mentoring and coaching, that I had to quantify uniqueness. And of all the everybody should be on a journey of understanding who they are and their strengths. And of all the assessment tools I've done, some are psychometric. The beauty of the one I chose to become to be an advisor is Fascination Advantage. And I'm a Fascinate certified advisor. And what I love about it is that it is science-based. I had to have something, and I wasn't going to create something on my own. It helps you see the 7 different languages that you speak and which ones you speak most confidently. And when you know how you speak in your most confident self, you come out with confidence and you create a know, like, and trust factor. So when I do my training when I do REVUP Your Leadership training, I help people find out their uniqueness through the Fascinate Advantage. So whatever you do, learn to understand who you are naturally and instinctively. Don't change who you are. Discover who you are naturally so you show up in your most natural, confident self. And that's once you find that, then have the courage to be that. Don't try to be the boss that you think you should be. And a good example was one person who's more of an introvert. In the language of Fascinate, they're mystique. And they thought in order to be a good leader, they had to be like the office manager. And the office manager was very well organized, who made decisions very quickly. But that's who that person was. And when she read when we had her unique Fascinate interpretation, she smiled at the end and she said, I can be the boss I want to be. And that was a boss who led through listening, learning, understanding, and guiding and supporting. Not the boss who said, okay, we're going to do this, this, and this, and we're going to run the company like this. That's fine for the office manager. You need somebody like that. But that's not who she was. And now she knew she didn't have to change.
Wow. Yeah, I love that. It's interesting because as I'm listening, I feel like so much is self-awareness, which is not, unless you know about work on yourself, you might be oblivious, right? So it's sort of interesting because I think that there's, again, these ideas of what makes a strong, I'm using that word on purpose, and tough and up at the top of the mountain leader, right? Which is not really necessarily the inspirational one. So I think it's a really interesting shift in the world right now, as to what is becoming more important as far as development of leaders and skills and the ability to be human and to be connecting with others. Interesting, recently I heard a Brene Brown interview on, it was a technology HR company. She was being interviewed and they had an all-day training, and she mentioned that some of the best future leaders will be those that have a regulated nervous system. And I was like, this just, again, it gets me.
Yeah.
I'm trying not to think all the time. I'm trying to get out of the brain into my feeling, my own self-awareness. But it's an interesting time, because are we just continuing to just put different labels on things that were already there as far as skills? And why does it have to be, again, labeling leaders? And though, again, if everyone's of service, regardless of their role, and I love that there's no, every role is important, right? It all fits together.
Mm-hmm.
It's just like how we are as humans and how we connect in the world and nature and everything else. We're all connected, right? So I really believe that I've seen the ones that did inspire me, or that I looked at in my career, were ones that really treated me as the receptionist, putting myself through school. That was one of my jobs. And I was happy every day and said good morning and like had conversation. And it's like the ones that actually paid attention to you and stopped to chat, versus like you're the lowly reception who's just answering the phones or something, right? So you do get that interaction, but that's really about connection and humanity, versus
I think
I'm a bit better than you. Do you know what I mean?
I think in this AI driven time, I think more and more people are saying, I need the human connection now. So more and more, yes, we need to use AI. It is an amazing tool, but we don't need to lose sight of our humanity and our connection to the world. And your example of being the receptionist really resonated. And in my book, I have this anecdote. We always interview people, and I always brought one of the team members along for the interview. And so in this interview, we were looking for an admin person. And so our one of our admin people were part of it. And the person asked, at the end, are there any questions? She says, yeah. And she looked to the person, and it was Lori. And she asked Lori, she says, so what do you like about working here? And Lori said, she says, I like the fact that I feel equally important to my boss. And I mean, I didn't have the word equality in those days, but that was the atmosphere we created. And in my mind, I'm going, yes, this is what I've been trying to instill. We're all equal. And she basically, her boss was one of the VPs, right? So she was saying, there is this level of respect and equality. And this is what we wanted to create. So all of these little experiences that I had over the years of what we created and what the staff experienced was validating what we tried to create as a whole company. And so that's why it was very important for me to put into words this concept and the anecdotes that I had over the years.
Beautiful. Yeah, I love it. And I see Lee has a question. And the one thing that when you talked about the concept of how to treat people, and a lot of people refer to the golden rule, which is treat others as you want to be treated. And I read a book and I heard about the platinum rule, which is what you're talking about, which is treat others as they want to be treated, because we are all different. We receive differently. We experience differently, even though a longer debate about oneness another time. But it is a concept that I don't necessarily want to lead the way you do, or I don't necessarily decipher information, or my productivity might be different. I like to work at night. Anyways, that's a long conversation. So I'll leave it to Lee to ask her question, and anyone else that has. We do have some more time, so feel free to reach out.
Thanks, Helen, for putting this on, and to Hilda for writing this book. I love Hilda's book, and I'm just getting so excited listening to her share some of the really inspirational and practical advice today. It's like, I know I'm in the right wheelhouse, because like I am all about owning your imprint and like understanding that there is a lot of value in outside of the box leadership skills or skills in general for the workplace that you're not necessarily giving yourself enough credit for. So I love how you brought up the, being a leader in unconventional ways, right? Like in university or as a parent, et cetera. And especially for women, right? Because women's skills are often disregarded as not being as valuable in a comparison. And I'm a part of the Prosperity Project now for the last couple of years. And as part of my visionary role, we share groundbreaking research. And there's a recent research that was done through the TELUS Foundation about women disclosing AI use. And it's really fascinating. When a woman discloses that she uses artificial intelligence to complete a task, her perceived competence drops at a twice the rate of a man who does the same. And just like all of the AI the AI bias that it goes to sort of discount women in a lot of different ways, and also like the lack of role opportunities for women because of AI software deciding who's going to be interviewed for a position, and there is bias towards women. So I'm really passionate about bringing more awareness to that. And I'm just curious, because you did mention AI specifically, and I was reflecting on that over the last couple of days, how unfortunately students who are going to be looking for work and getting judged as to like, if their portfolio is really theirs, or, like this like questioning, is the brand is anybody real anymore, right? Does anyone actually do the work, or is it all, credited to AI? And women especially have a lot of challenges around this. So I'd love to hear your reflections on that.
So what is the question exactly? So I know what I'm
Yeah, no, I
reflecting
know
on.
that was like more of a comment than a question. So I guess my question is, how do women in the age of AI um, be able to properly identify their own skill set when the bias might be that, oh, their skills or their thing is like all done by AI, right? It's not them, right? Because I think students entering into the job market are going to be really challenged because no one really knows what's real and what's not now.
So here's my perspective on AI, and I actually came out of the closet because I would say I'm an advanced user, and I'm pretty sure, Lee, from our conversations, you are an advanced user as well.
Mm-hmm. Exactly.
I think in December it was interesting because Google was saying who do you talk to most, and then also ChatGPT gave me a summary, and I realized that I was an early adopter to ChatGPT, like 3 years before I think I've been on it. So I am an early adopter, and I've watched and I've grown. I was originally one of those people that just used it like glorified Google and asked, but then I started having a conversation, and now they are strategically working with me, right? So
Yeah.
I am working at a strategic level of conversation, but we wouldn't have that conversation if I didn't provide my creative frameworks. Like RevUp is mine. AI didn't create this. AI doesn't refine it. But I have conversations on a much deeper level than I could have with anybody, because nobody really understands my RevUp as well as I do. And comment that ChatGPT can make then escalates my strategic visioning of it. So I am advancing my growth in a much more rapid way than I could with personal reflection, talking to somebody who has an inkling of what I'm doing. And so I came out of the closet, so to speak, and and shared that I'm using it strategically. And for some reason, my first and second connectors didn't see this, but they sent it off to the AI world and had comments, and I received over 11,000 impressions of that, right? So my thinking is that everybody needs to start getting on AI. Don't wait 6 months, a year, because you are going to be a year behind. If we're all novices now growing, we will learn to be confident. You're always going to get people that are going to comment. And I'm sorry, I really don't want to think of myself as a female confined in what people think about me. If you are confident you own your own space in who you are, that's enough. You're going to have people that are going to comment on all the different things, but you're going to have equally important people who comment that person is bright. That person thinks, not that Asian Chinese 5'1" woman thinks this way. No, that person. So if you believe that premise is that you who you are, and you're going to have critics, you're going to have praisers, just be who you are in your confident space, and don't second guess all of the extremes. Just be who you are.
Can
And
I
there
ask
is
a
a
follow-up?
place. There is a place for AI, and we need to guide it and nurture it and work with it.
Yeah, for sure. Can I ask a quick follow-up question? So if a young woman, let's say she's like starting out her career and she doesn't have a big resume and she is being interviewed and a question comes up around her AI use, what advice would you give that person in coaching her through that interview so that her experience and or her use of AI doesn't get discredited or make her look like she's less smart at taking this job on?
I would, first of all, talk about, and I'm just giving a hypothetical. Say,
Sure.
I am an avid learner and I like to embrace things. I'm constantly learning. And I am working with AI to learn what they have, but I still am my own person. I look at things, I use what is valuable in my growth and support, and those things that are a little bit sketchy, I have the ability to think through that and make decisions. Show your independence, show your learning abilities. Don't, like, see what I'm saying? There's a way to say things. And if you need to, go to AI and say, hey, I have this dilemma. How should I present it? I had a particularly interesting situation where I was doing a not-for-profit training of facilitation. And it had kind of morphed into something that I did not expect. And I had a healthy conversation with AI that night. And I took what I needed from them to make a decision that really ended up with a win-win situation. Did AI tell me what to do? No. AI guided me to problem solve in a way that I still stayed neutral. I still was able to solve a complex problem. That is an intellectual conversation with AI. That's not saying, AI, I have this problem, tell me what to do. And okay, fine, thank you. No, use your brain to think about, does that make sense? And I'll say, excuse me, don't forget my REVUP concept. That conflicts with my REVUP concept. Oh, you're right. We need to do it. And then I'll look at it and thought, okay, that looks fine. So use AI as an intellectual tool to help you question your own values, your own solution. Don't let them dictate the solution.
I love that. Thank you.
Yeah.
Great
I
answer.
see that Anne has to go. Does anyone have their books so we could hold up and take a quick screenshot, Emmeline, if anybody has one? Oh, that's okay. We'll take a quick one. And then I just wanted to say thanks, Anne, for coming. The other thing, because I think I'm hearing that we should have our own little AI summit to talk longer about this, because every conversation I'm getting on these days brings it up. Anne is going to be our guest in August for Book Circle for her book. So look forward to that. I'll send out details. Just a quick follow up on that great question, Lee, because I think the biggest thing is, how are we using our voices as humans in connection? Because we don't want to be replicating systems that weren't working for us before. So whether it's women, other diverse or marginally oppressed groups historically, and that is the difficulty with the bias within these systems. So I think, there's so much to unpack, and that's why I think a book like REVUP Your Leadership, Create a Mentor Culture, Anne's inspiring book, we're creating this community of people that still want to maintain heart-centered human connections. Because without that, I'm, like Hilda said from the beginning, you're not going to create that environment. And so layering in a new form of technology, because we've had large language models for a while now, but it's another layer, right? And this one is a bit, I don't know, there's a lot to unpack there. And so I would love for us to maybe create a little, like a half-day session on this. Would be fantastic. I see that people are wrapping up. So first, I just want to say thanks again to Hilda. I know we could have conversations that go on and on all the time. I'm just really, really proud to know you as a friend and a colleague, and congratulations on all of your work and your lifetime of career and more to come. You just don't stop. But in your way, right? So thanks again. And I wanted to just, if you could let people know who might come across this, where they can go to get in touch with you. There's an index we didn't have time to talk about that can kind of assess where you are on that leadership dimension area. So if you wanted to share that, and I'll make sure it's in the notes for the YouTube and when this comes out.
So I use LinkedIn a lot, and if you go into LinkedIn and look at my name, Hilda Gan, there's no numbers behind it. It's Hilda Gan, and you'll see me. My book is available on Amazon, so please go there and please give it a review, because obviously more reviews make it interesting. And Stephen Paikin actually I met him earlier this week, and he has a copy of my book, and he says he's going to take it to the cottage with him, so that'll be really cool. You can get it on Amazon, and you can go to my website, www.peoplebrightconsulting.com, and learn more about what I do and my book. Thank you very, very much for having me.
Thank
so
you.
Nice to see Emmeline and Lee and Anne here. I don't know Dolores, but it was just wonderful to be able to share my book in different aspects of the writing of it to stories in the book. It's wonderful. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Everyone have a wonderful weekend, and we'll see you again next month. So thanks, everyone.